Right, so we've got an Audi TT in for our water leak procedure today. So just have a quick little look around. We're doing a couple of bits on it. We're doing a hood clean and reproof. We're doing the water leaks, and I think we're doing a couple of other bits. So just quickly go around and have a little look. Right, so that's okay. Right, okay. So whereabouts originally did you find the water currently? A bit of a hard one. Because it was just mould on the steering wheel, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just mouldy inside, but the seat belt gets really wet.
I'll get you.
So sometimes when I put that on, it soaks me.
You can feel it. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll get you.
There's quite often water over in the passenger well.
Yep.
The floor can get it wet.
Right, I'll get you. Let's have a quick little butcher's in.
It's fine at the moment.
So it's okay at the moment, but
yeah,
obviously we get water in the passenger front, obviously sometimes, and the driver's rear seat belt obviously is a little bit wet, so I'm just obviously putting it on here.
Yeah.
The control panels on the dashboard, some work and some don't, so it's a bit intermittent. And I believe obviously we're doing a 28-point check to begin with. Check all about, obviously make sure the leaks and bits and pieces like that. Once we then finish that, if everything's okay, we'll then go on to the hood clean and reproof. I think we've got wheels being refurbished as well.
That's right.
We've got a load of bits and pieces on this one, haven't we? Was there any water in the boot at all?
No.
Never seen water in the boot. That's okay. Customers just informed me on the Audi TT that sometimes the indicators don't work. So just to obviously note that one on there. Just a quick another little note as well. I've just pulled it into the workshop, and we can see on the dashboard we've got obviously engine management light up, and obviously the digital display is a bit iffy. So we've done our water leak procedure, so we're just going to show you what we've found so far. So if we go into the boot, behind the rear bumper we have air vents, which obviously do circulation on the car. If we have a look down here, I've just put a twisty camera in, and we can see the air vents here. Now the problem is these air vents are supposed to be shut, but they're not. So the water's not going in when the water's being poured down the light, but when you're driving along in the rain, it's flicking up from the wheel, and then the only place that can go is directly in these little letter boxes. So that's the same on both sides. If we get our twisty camera now and we go up to the top, we can see, once it focuses, we can see we have a cable up here, and on the cable just there we can see daylight. So there's a hole there which can cause water to get in as well, and what that is it's this little tiny bit of tape here which is supposed to have a bung, so we're going to have to design a bung to make that watertight. So that's obviously that one there, and then going on to the next ones will be the sunroof drains. Now the problem is with the sunroof drains, it's quite hard to see, so what we're going to do is we're going to get our twisty camera and we're going to go down this little bit here, and what that should do is that should go into the drainage system. Okay. Just got to try and find the location. Okay, so the little cross down there is the release for the drainage system, but as we can see it's fully blocked. So what that would do is water would back up in that cassette, and then once it backs up it will then come down the back. So we'll put a bit of water on here and we can see that it's filling up, but as we can see it's not releasing any of the water. So it's like that on both sides. So that's going to be obviously the problem while the water's coming in the car. And if we now quickly go round to the passenger side, we have a special little machine here which detects any water or anything like that. So as you can see, it's 0 at the moment. So if I then put that on the floor down here, we can see that it's moving. Now what that's telling us is there is condensation under the carpet, so that's going to have to obviously be dried. The reason being is because where the sunroof pipes are blocked, it's filling up both of the footwells. The problem is I would probably advise taking both of the seats up, lifting both of the carpets up, and making sure they're totally bone dry whilst they're up, spraying a decontamination product under them as well. The driver's one, if we put our machine here, it doesn't really seem to go up at all. It kind of peaks a little bit here, but not a great deal. But I would just say, obviously, belt and braces, because both of the sunroof pipes were blocked, I think it wouldn't do us any harm, obviously, lifting this up and spraying it with our decontamination product before we lay it down when it's dry. So there we go. So obviously, to get that dry, the reason being is because we don't want any electrical problems, and we don't obviously want any smells or mould. So there we go. Okay, so just a quick update on the Audi TT. So we've done all the water leak detection side and the repairs now. It's been on dry overnight. As we can see under here, it's now all nice and dry. And what we have done is we put a bit of obviously Nutridol underneath the carpets, just so obviously it smells nice. Same on the passenger side, so it's all nice and dry over there as well, so we can start building up the inside. We can currently see that it's floating, and that's because obviously the wheels are off being refurbed. We've still got to do the hood clean and reproof, and obviously the Krytox of the rubbers, but all the drains have been flushed out and they're all working lovely, so that's good. And obviously we're going to be doing this bit of damage down on the arch here, and just show you under here as well. Okay, so it's all nice and dry.
Car's running because we just started it and we just brought it out of the workshop because the wheels have been put back on and it's now going to the body shop. The waterproofing side's been done. You're looking at the wonderful wheels. I shouldn't keep showing you that, but they've done a lovely job of that. Right, okay, so we're all going to plan still, so I won't tell you everything, but you know, the roof, the seal's been done, the wheels look wonderful, and the roof's clean, but it's still got to dry and we've got to put the proof on. So we've got a couple of jobs to do by the end of today. I anticipate it will be done by the end of today. No, but we're getting there now. The seal's been done. We've had it back from craft work and now we're making some more headway. Although, you know, obviously they were making headway anyway in the middle. If that makes sense. Right, okay, so we've got some good news, but also there's something to address here. It's not so good news. Wheels look great, the seals come up very well, so that's the good news. We're very pleased with how the car's going. The hood's looking lovely. But this morning I was suspicious of it being damp under the driver's foot because it was a little bit damp, and I thought, oh, well, that's probably went from when it's been transported. So it's not that. It is only a tiny bit damp, but I thought it led me to then check the passenger footwell, and I've got evidence of dampness here. Now it's not major, but it is there. I'll just turn this sort of machine on and show you. So if I put the machine there, it's dry, but if I put the machine over here, it's bleeping, telling me that this is damp. I can feel it's slightly damp, but not so obvious until you got the machine on it, and then if I go there, it's even damper. Right, okay, so let's tell you why that's possible. We've done fixed the leaks at the back, and I'm just going to show you what's possible. So there's a scuttle area here under the front of the car, and underneath this plastic tray there's an air intake. It's a little bit like this. It's a little vent thing like this. This is the one from round on another car on the bumper, but they look just like this, and they sit in the grille, in the actual bulkhead like that, to let the air in. Now occasionally they perish around the edges, but they're still sitting out of water because they've made them cleverly at an angle. Now when we do our test, we test this area. It is in one of the 28-point checks, but we pour water down here and then we confirm the water coming out the arches. That's telling you it's free running. Now water gets in these if it's not free running, so if you put water in there and it's not coming out of there very obviously, sometimes these can be clogged with leaves and debris behind, and occasionally the water can spill over into the car. Now the other thing that happens is the gaskets on them perish, so it's possible that this needs taking off, cleaning out, and then resealing and sealing to the bulkhead. Now we do it on a few Audis, but TT's not a common one. The other Audis in the other range, it is quite common, and meaning we take the wiper off, lift up the bonnet, take the wiper off, lift the scuttle off, and then investigate. Perhaps then we'll get that scuttle off, and then we'll reseal it, and we'll investigate whether that is the reason that the water's there, or if indeed there is another leak. Hopefully there isn't, but you know, hopefully that is the problem, and then we can then show that on the video so you can see. Slightly different arrangements under this one. You have the filter under here. Sometimes they have the filter inside, so the grill bit's slightly different. James has given that an airline and cleaned that filter out because it hasn't been done for a while. But you know, ideally, I don't think it needs replacing. It's not that bad, is it? It was just full of bits of dirt. And then under here was dirty. We've taken photographs, so he's resealed that, and there was evidence of a little bit of water coming past it. So we're going to see whether that ties up once we get the carpet up. This one here, we have to take this mechanism part out. That's why it takes an hour each way, because you've got to take the wiper bit out to get to this side. And we do both when we do it. No point in not doing that. And this one on this particular car sits quite flat. So we'll see, but we'll see whether this is leaking or not. But we did see evidence of a little bit of water, but we're not thinking a lot. So what we're going to do is see if there is much underneath that carpet. Once we get that up, then we can then decide whether or not we think we fixed the leak by doing this, or whether indeed there is something else somewhere else. So that's all back as it should go, and then you can see that this has all been cleaned out here. And then we've got to get this one on. Right, so I just did a bit of video clip, and James it came up on the screen that it was taken in the wrong angle, so I've had to redo it. But so here's a picture of the hole from where this is. James is just going to lift this up, and you can see the plate I showed you earlier there. That's been off, and we did see evidence of a little bit of water passing through. So that's it all clean now with the sealant around it, and that's a photograph. So we take photographs as we go. There it is clean without the sealant around it, and then there's a picture of the actual piece that goes on top. So that's the bit upside down, and then if you look there, you can see all the debris around it. So it definitely made sense to do it in the end. I cannot say for sure yet whether that's the total cause of our water. So we're going to see how much water's under there, and then see whether it ties up, because we're not thinking a lot's gone past. So this special grease here is heat resilient, and we do that on the two parts of the wiper, because where the wipers connect, because if you don't, then the wipers can't be lifted very well. It's just, you know, it's just what I might call you know, good practice. So that special grease is heat resilient. It means that when we put the wipers on, these bits corrode on wherever the wipers are. They're the wipers there, and they tend to corrode, so we grease them, and then they come off in the future should you need to put a screen on or whatever that is. So the next bit of video footage, we'll see how much water's underneath the carpet. You can clearly see there that it's very, very corroded, or, you know, not the right word corroded, but, you know, gummed up. And there it is, when that's the bit that was the recess. They're not that sloped on this model, so, you know, in the past we've seen them where they've been a bit more sloped. Okay, so it is wet under here, but it's not very wet, so we'll get it dry. Now, we've had a little chat about what we think we need to do going forward. So what we're going to suggest to you is that let's dry it. We'll have it ready for tomorrow, and then you take it. We know that the water's fixed at the back, and we've also confirmed that it has had some new hoses fitted. We've spoken to the roof specialist about these hoses, and there are a hose which comes from the little tray in the back to the arch, and sometimes the hoses break down. So I've spoken to the parts company that sell them for Audi. They said they don't sell many, but we've put a camera down there, and we've established that there is definitely new hoses. So we can see there that they're not the factory, you know, they are the Audi ones, but they've been put on with, they're held on with another little wires held on with them with a cable tie, and Audi don't use cable ties. So does look like they've done a good job. We're thinking that it's quite possible that this, because it took such a lot of washing, it could have been drip, drip, drip through these different vents at the front. But what we're going to suggest is, rather than spend a lot of time looking for something that might not be there and waste hours, we're going to suggest that we dry it underneath, which is something we've included in the package anyway. And then you take it, and then if you monitor it for 30 days, if it gets wet again, then we dry it for free, and then we check the work we've done and make sure that's all working, and then we then suggest further hours for investigation at that point, meaning there are probably going to be some other leak somewhere. But you know, we have found the evidence to show that the water's leaking either side of this. Not a lot. In fact, the driver's side is virtually almost dry anyway, but well, I think we caught that in time. But this side, we saw there was enough debris, and we've got the photographs to show you. Anyway, we're going to put the drying machine on it tonight and have it ready for tomorrow. Unless you want, you'd rather say to us, we'll spend a couple more hours investigating why the water's there and if there is another leak. Right, so an update on your Audi TT. So we checked our work and it all checks up fine. So we have now found what the other problem is. So difficult to film it, to get to it. So you're looking there, it's being dried at the moment. James has shown me that he's found there is a sock. It's like a sock that this roof sits in. When the roof comes down, it sits in a half moon sock in here. Now, it's fairly new to us in as much as we haven't seen many of them like that, where the sock part's leaking. But I have spoken to Steve, who we spoke to about your car before, about the down drains that fit in here. Don't know if you remember that. And he says, I called him up and said, look, this is coming out the sock. Basically, it's like a half moon shape of fabric, and this, when the roof goes down, sits in it. Anyway, he said, it's a common thing. I've done a few of them, Gary. He said the sock needs sticking back. That's all we have to do. We get it apart and stick it back. So it's an unusual thing to us, but it's something that he's seen before because he's a cabriolet roof specialist, and he's seen a few of these Audis. All right. Car's completely dry and the mud flap's not on it anymore. The wheels look wonderful. The hood looks wonderful. We've put all the carpet back. These now have been done underneath, so they're properly sealed. So if you want to come and get it, hopefully you're going to get it today. And then, yeah, you want to get driving around in the beautiful sunshine. Amazing.